Hello, happy Monday, everybody. It is Hannah, the Kombucha Mama, here from Kombucha Kamp. Today we have a really special guest. I'm very excited for our guest today, but we're starting in like 1 minute, so I'm going to wait until some folks have a chance to join us. Hello, good morning, everybody. How's everybody's 30-day kombucha challenge going? Reminds me, let me grab some booch. Here's what I've got. Elderflower lemon in my cute little cup for my daily dose. And then some, I already had some kombucha this morning. I mix it with mugwort tea. So I've been working with mugwort lately to help support my system. And it's a little bit bitter, but what I like about it is I combine the bitter with the kombucha and then water, and it makes this really great hydrating workout drink. So refreshing, crisp. What I like about the elderflower is that it has its own yeast that create a little extra bubble in the glass. So you can see some little fizz here. And then for the lemon, I use the juice as well as some of the zest, and that imparts the oils and the floral note that I really like. But we can see here we're getting to the bottom of the bottle. It's getting a little yeasty. This is where the B vitamins are. So I like to mix that up and dilute it with a little bit of water. But hello, good morning. Hi, good evening, Veronica from Sweden. Nice to have you here. Good to see some other friends here. And in just a moment, we'll be joined by our special guest. Today it is Sacha Lauren from Kombucha Couture, and I'm really grateful. I have a pair of her earrings. Look at these. These are my beautiful SCOBY earrings from Sacha, and I matched them with my outfit today. So I'm very excited to have her here and share all about everything that we are doing. So yeah, it's going to be a really great show. But how many of you are doing the 30-day kombucha challenge? Go ahead and drop a little emoji if you are participating in the 30-day kombucha challenge. You know, every day might be a part of your 30-day kombucha challenge if you're someone who is drinking it all the time. But for those of you who maybe only drink it occasionally, having kombucha every day, every single day for 30 days is a way to really feel how it can support your entire organism, especially when we use it to let go of other beverages that maybe aren't as supportive for us. So let's see. I see Sacha is here. All right, 1 second. Yay, Mercury in retrograde. This is so much fun. So I'm trying to add Sacha and it says unable to join. So let's see. I know she has more than one Instagram account. So worst case scenario, we'll go to her Together Kombucha. So Sacha's really amazing in that she has been a fermentationist for many years, and I'll let her share her story as well. But she's went from cheese making, so she was all about the curds and the whey, into kombucha making, and from there into making Kombucha Couture, like these beautiful SCOBY earrings I have. And in fact, we're gonna be doing a giveaway, so stay tuned for details on how you can participate on that. Okay, hold on, let me grab my keyboard. Just send a little message here and see if we can get ourselves all connected. But so for those of you who are drinking kombucha on a regular basis, yes, hi Sacha, I see you. Okay, great. The magic is happening. She will be joining us any moment here. But so for those of you who are drinking kombucha on a regular basis, like, what do you notice? How does it make you feel? For me, I feel like, first of all, it clears up my skin. So I have really lovely skin. I get compliments on it all the time. And remember that, you know, your skin as an organ is expressing what's coming from inside of it. And so, yes. go live with Kombucha Couture is unable to join. Huh, interesting. So yeah, the message I'm getting, Sacha, is for some reason it's not allowing Kombucha Couture to join, but maybe Together Kombucha can join us. So I'll see when you join there. This, of course, is the first time this is happening where it's not able to connect, but we're going to get it all figured out. So for me, I notice it clears up my skin. It improves digestion, of course. That is the major reason. So even if I know I'm going to have fried food or something from this, it's going to help to digest and break things down. And so that's really important. Let's see if I can. I'm not great at the multitasking thing, so pardon me for taking a moment to just get our logistics figured out here. And of course, my computer is being a little slow, but here we go. We have a little seaweed action. Woo, woo, woo. So yeah, that was seaweed action. So this is what happens when you're in the water with like a piece of seaweed. This is something I did in Taiwan. When I lived in Taiwan, here I was hanging out with a bunch of random people, and all of a sudden I decided I was a piece of seaweed. And so it's just something I do every once in a while as I get into seaweed mode. Woo, woo, go with the flow. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going with the flow. We're figuring out our technical issues on the fly. But you guys are really going to love getting to know Sacha. And I didn't even realize this. She now has her own kombucha company. So I'm really excited about sharing that as well. And she's based here in California, but up in Northern California. And her story is so unique and interesting, and hopefully inspirational to others who might be wondering, what else can I do with my kombucha? Are there any cool extra uses for my SCOBYs? So, so that is going to be really neat to hear her story. Once we get her here. But her kombucha is really beautiful. It looks pretty amazing. So, well, what other, you guys have any questions for us? Go ahead and drop those in the chat. So if you want to know more about making fabric from kombucha, or how one goes about even starting that process, go ahead and drop your notes, of course. Any questions you have about brewing or whatnot, I'll be happy to answer those as well. And we're going to get this all ironed out in just a minute here. So thank you for your patience. But the 30-day kombucha challenge has been really great for me because I had gone through a period where I'd sort of ebbed and flowed. And now I'm back to drinking my kombucha on a regular basis. And I have to say, definitely have more energy. And what happens with that is then I'm able to sleep better at night. I'm having more regular movements. And so just everything's back in the flow, which feels really good. I'm also lightening up for summer, so it just feels nice to let go of some of those heavier drinks. Now that said, I did have a kombucha cocktail this weekend because I do enjoy gin in my kombucha, and so that was really lovely as well. It gives me that nice little gentle buzz, but without the intense ability. All right, let's see. All right. So friends, how is your, here we go. Let's see if we got kombucha. Go. Did this work? Let's see. Hello.
Hey. Hi, Hannah. I'm so sorry.
Hi, Sacha. Welcome to live. That means we don't exactly know everything that's happening, but here we are.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Some technical difficulties, but here we are.
It happened. But you're here now, so
Yeah.
welcome. So glad to have you
Yeah,
here. It looks like you're in your workshop too.
I am. Yeah. Yeah. This is yeah, I heard you talking about my kombucha. Thank you. But yeah, I've got the giveaway earrings here, and then this is the National Geographic dress, and then my
Beautiful.
new line of kombucha that will hopefully being launched in this year sometime. So yeah,
Yeah, well, I
going
was
full
proudly
circle.
showing off my earrings that you made for me,
Yeah.
oh, so many
Oh
moons
my
ago.
goodness, that was so
Do they
long
look
ago.
familiar? Yes, they're pretty little blue ones. So I wore
They,
blue today.
yay. Well, they've held up really well because it's actually kind of fashion with an expiration date, which is one of the things I kind of want to, instead of going for, I mean, I'm trying to, working with UC Davis and scientists to just figure out the magic, sort of crack the code on how to sort of render the fabric, long-term durability. But I also think there's something to be said for like slow fashion, and not have to worry. Like if, a dress, a kombucha dress can actually be put to the good earth, and it will be it'll be your tomatoes in like a couple of weeks. And I think that is where we really should be heading, to be kinder to, our earth. And t-shirts and even like lycra can last generations in landfill, and that just is so upsetting to me. And the fact that
Yes.
kombucha is so biodegradable, I think that if we can grow it to scale, which is happening, and I think we are very close, we can bring the price down so that it's not just runway. Like this is all my fashion Paris Fashion Week runway, and it was very theatrical and fun, and it's kind of spread the vision, but it's not what people would normally wear. I'm wearing a knitted kombucha here.
Nice, beautiful.
Um,
Well, before we get too far down the end result, let's talk about the beginning. How did we
sure.
get here? So tell us a little bit. I know you started in fermentation as a cheese maker, and then what tripped you into kombucha? How did that get started?
Yeah, so I have been a cheesemaker for about 15 years, and fermentation, and then somebody gave me a SCOBY, and said, I think you would like this drink. I'd never even heard of it. And I went out, bought the drink just to see, fell in love. I knew my body said yes, absolutely. And so I already was just, knew a lot about bacteria. And so there was a lot of sort of cross-referencing, that I could do with understanding the Acetobacter and the, Saccharomyces. And I was, also a home winemaker. And so I never looked back. And but getting into the earrings was a kind of just a funny, because of I know, and I'm just a complete fermentation nerd. Sandor Katz is like one of my heroes. And I had seen Suzanne Lee's jacket, like in his book. And I thought,
Yes.
wow, that's so cool. But I mean, I could never do that, but maybe I could, make earrings. And then I noticed that my tree, where I like threw my sort of blessed my extra SCOBY and threw it on sort of in my garden, it was actually hanging like beautiful stained glass, like hibiscus colored earrings. And so I thought, oh my goodness, I could do that. And so I worked for like 3 months and made this whole line and sold it at the Whole Earth Festival, which is a really big festival here at UC Davis every year. And it got picked up by my earrings got picked up by a sort of women's boutique in town, and they said they sold clothing as well, and they're like, you should totally try a dress. I think you can do it. And no one should ever give me a challenge, because and so I made just a tiny little line of like 3 dresses, and then I won like first prize at this at the Sacramento Film and Music Awards, like 1 month later, just with one of the dresses. I entered it, and I won like the the full competition against all these career designers, and that sort of catapulted me to the prize was to be featured designer at Sac Fashion Week. And I was like, oh my God, I went from like not thinking I could make a dress to making like a couple, and then I had to make 12, and then I got some coverage in magazines, and then Paris called me the next year, and so then I went to like 22.
Wow.
So yeah,
like the kombucha culture when you're growing it in your jar,
it
just sort of
it was
mushrooms.
prolific. Yeah, it was really the mother SCOBYs where I was channeling their energy of like prolific abundance and.
Well, and so speaking of, right, because it requires quite a bit of material, I imagine that it shrinks as it cures, as it dries, as it dehydrates. Because when it's wet, of course, it's heavier, it's pliable. We know it's hydrophilic, meaning it loves water, so it's going to absorb that.
Yeah.
Where did you get so much culture when you were first starting out?
Yeah, so I just used all of my cheese tubs. I literally, I came home from like hearing that, I was going to be doing this. And so I just emptied out all my cheese tubs that I had, all of my pots and colanders, because I am also a cheese making teacher. And so I was always, had all these big tubs. And then I just literally just poured my kombucha that I was making into these tubs. I mean, these days I put just tea in there, just sweet tea with some kind of little pieces of extra SCOBY, because I really want to be able to use all of my leftover SCOBY. I mean, that's part of the point, is it's a waste product that I can repurpose and be. My aim is to be completely zero waste and not even use any sugar. Just use like citrus that's left over from the UC Davis orchards, and kind of imperfect fruit, and be able to not be using processed sugar for my production. But I found a couple of things that work better than sugar that are completely that I can like waste stream, but I just don't have them at the level that I need them. So I mean, that was one of the reasons I've decided to go into commercial production for my kombucha, because I really want to be full circle and actually create clothing out of a true waste product and not just be creating a waste product. So
well, and then so I imagine that, like, how do you go from this huge SCOBY hanging out in a jar to turning it into a material that you can work with? What are some of the steps you have to go through to get there? And of course, we're not looking for your secrets, but just sort of, if somebody wanted to experiment at home, what would they do to try to make that fabric?
So, well, I have a little piece here. It's going to drip on my floor, but that's okay. So I have some live mama SCOBY here. And so what I do, truly, I mean, I actually don't like to rinse her at all, because, sorry, it's always a she.
It's a mother.
So what I do is I actually just dry it out as is. I mean, there is an odor that actually even drying it out is not going to really get rid of it. And I think that, again, that's something that is just, it's not for everybody, but I think that I really, there are a lot of people who love the smell of kombucha fabric, and you just kind of get used to it. It's a bit like a new car smell. It's kind of just, it smells like honey and flowers, and also
that smells better than a new car.
Yeah.
Not as many chemicals.
Yeah, when I grow the kombucha, I put like an essence of like lavender in there, like a beautiful essential oil. That really, really helps. So that's one of my tricks. And then I just dry it out on like parchment paper in the sun. It really does not like full sun. So even though we're very lucky in California to have this beautiful sun almost all year round, I do keep it in the shade, and then the longer and slower I dry it out. So for me, that means about 3 days. But I mean, I'm actually I've mentored hundreds of people around the world. Like every week I get people contacting me, and because I am open source. I mean, I've got to have some trade secrets because I can't patent it. So there's some little things, but generally I am, you know, as a person, a teacher more than anything. Like I want people to do this. I'm kind of, you know, the more attraction is, you know, happens with this, the better everyone is and the better the planet will be. And so I just, you know, obviously a lot of people, like, it can take a week, like in London, you know, England or in Poland, it can take a long time to actually get, you know, the SCOBY drying. But for me, I just do it very gently without UV, because UV is really destructive for the cellulose, and it's pure cellulose. It's one of the purest on the planet, you know, and there's no lignin, which you have in leaves. So it's extremely pure. I don't even take the yeast out because I really like the patterns of the yeast. I have like a piece here. You can't really see. Let me just see when it's kind of backlit. Yeah.
So translucent.
And, yeah, and you can kind of see the yeast coming through. And for me, that's the symbiosis. That's the yeast and the bacteria. The bacteria has spun the cellulose, and the yeast is what, you know, gives us our beautiful bubbles and kind of actually you know, it does the initial, as you know, takes the sugar and turns it into ethanol, and then the Acetobacter does all that beautiful spinning of the cellulose to make it floaty, and which is what I'm using. I'm using the cellulose, you know, but then the drink is fermented through, you know, the Acetobacter as well as the Saccharomyces. So for me, that I like to be able to keep the yeast, and it's very, for me, that's very artistic, and it also makes my life easier. I use less water because I don't have to, well, I mean, I do a tiny bit of rinsing just to get some of the goobiest goobies off, but to not have to take out the yeast makes it a lot easier of a process. So that's another one of my tricks, is just as is, take Mama how she is in her natural glory.
And then how do you get those beautiful colors? So we've dehydrated her for 3 days, obviously low moisture, out of UV rays, so sort of in a shaded, dry environment is what we're looking for. For your process, it takes about 3 days. Other people in different climates, it might take a week or a little bit longer. And then, you know, once you have this sort of pliable piece of SCOBY, because she's not brittle at that point, I assume she still has some texture to her. How are you infusing beautiful colors into her?
So I can do either letting her just like before, as I'm like harvesting out of my tub, I can put her, like, to make like pinks, I use hibiscus. So I just make up like a really concentrated hibiscus tea. For blues, I use like a natural indigo, and just make up a little bit and then just dunk her in. And kind of, because it's very, you can make it kind of tie-dyed or make it really uniform. And so I do it at that point, like as she's come out of her bath or her living quarters where she's grown up, then I just put, you know, I've made a solution, like a colored solution. I also use Dharma dyes, which are, you know, they're not, I mean, they're dyes, but they are, I mean, Dharma dyes have really just very beautiful sort of principles in, and they're also acid reactive, which means that because of the acid of the kombucha, a tiny bit goes a long way. Like I will literally, for an entire sheet of kombucha, or even like a couple of them, I only use like a 32nd of a teaspoon of dye. You could never do that with cotton. So it just reacts to it. And so Dharma dyes are really good. Like that purple is Dharma dye because I can't get any natural like purple, that color. But my reds, my yellow, I can use turmeric. It's very, you know, it can stain your hands if you're cooking with it. So anything that will stain your hands will stain kombucha, because it's kind of like skin.
Well, and like you're saying, a little bit goes a long way. So whether we're flavoring the kombucha or it sounds like dyeing her, because of her unique acetobacter properties, a
Hmm.
little bit goes a long way. So it's interesting that same principle applies there.
Yeah.
So now once you have the colored fabric, like how are you making it so then it can be worn on the body? And then of course I'd love to hear what's the experience of wearing
Mm, yeah.
kombucha clothing because I imagine it's a little
Feels
bit
very good.
different.
It feels like skin. It kind of, it's so thermal. Like it actually, it's very warming. Like in winter, I love to wear kombucha because it just, it keeps your heat. And actually it doesn't, it loves a little bit of like body moisture.
Mm.
So because it tends to dry out, like there's this common misconception that, oh, you know, if you wear kombucha, it's going to turn into a SCOBY, even if it gets a bit wet, like in the rain. It actually welcomes that. It's like a spa day. Like I just say, you know, if people are like wearing their kombucha jacket and they're like, oh, I'm afraid this is going to, you know, I'll ruin it in the rain. I'm like, no, you know, she's going to enjoy the hydration. So, yeah, so I basically, once I really try to get my sheets as flat as possible when I'm drying. And the other, oh, am I there? Yeah, sorry, I pressed something.
Yes.
One of my other tricks is just to get it as flat, like lie it down on the parchment paper, like, and really like massage it, the for like a couple of minutes. And what that does, it actually, so the cellulose is in a kind of like rods, like crystalline rods, like the nanofibers. And
Mm.
by actually with your hands, like giving a massage, and it's just so yummy. It feels good, and I'm sure Mum is happy too. It just aligns all the crystalline rods so that when they dry, you get like just a firmer, stronger, and more flat surface. And then I basically use it as if it's cloth, and then I just cut out my design, and then I keep every single little piece, because what I can do, and that's what I love about kombucha, and you know, I have sewn with fabrics too, and the waste that you get with remnants is just, you know, terrible. But what we can do is just put those pieces back in a bucket and they will keep growing. So it's like, it's the waste bucket that keeps on giving. You know, I just have
Yes.
all my dried kombucha has not been destroyed, even with dama dye, it comes back. And then they become nuggets and seeds for the next lot. And, or I turn them into earrings, or I can do a collage piece where I like lay one very flat, like thin piece of kombucha out on parchment paper, or on like, you know, just like, I even like recycle my old like tablecloths, you know, like plastics. I mean, I hate using plastic, but if I do have to, you know, I always keep them, and then they become like a good sheet. So I'm, you know, always like trying to give another life to plastic for, you know, as many lives as possible. And then, so I spread it out, and then all my little bits of like cuttings and remnants, I place them on the fresh kombucha, and then sort of sandwich them, and then put another layer over. So then it's like becomes an art piece. And then I've
Mm.
used those dry pieces to reinforce, you know, another piece of fabric, and make kind of like, you know, I can make designs with all the little bits. So, you know, there's just it is so creative and fun and sustainable.
That's great. And then I know you've been doing research and development with UC Davis. Just sort of talk a little bit about how that relationship came about and how you're working together with them.
Yeah. So they are amazing. They have a design department that is like world class. And so they contacted me a couple of years ago once I got in National Geographic with the dress.
Let's see your beautiful dress. Oh my gosh, they
And
look so
yeah,
gorgeous. They're like
and
metallic
yeah, and
and
then this is
shimmery.
the it was in the Genius edition of National Geographic a couple of years ago. So they saw that, and even though I live in Davis, it kind of took them reading about me in National Geographic to actually put it together. And so they contacted me and asked me to be like an honorary lecturer for their students, which was wonderful. And so then, you know, I did all the training to like be able to use the prototyping, the molecular prototyping lab, and which was a total plus for me too, because what I was missing was, you know, organic chemistry and really taking it to a new level of like understanding like what is going on with that, you know, like this, the cellular, you know, cellulose matrix and the nanofibers, and how do we, you know, how are we able to reinforce it or capture moisture? Because one of the things, because it's kind of like a leaf and it's pure cellulose, it doesn't take moisture. I mean, it takes moisture in. It is, as you say, very hydrophilic, but it can't sustain it and keep it there in a dry environment. It will then dissipate. Like the walls are very sort of open. How do we seal? How do we lock in fat, basically moisture? Because it doesn't want to lock in any fat, you know, which is an emollient, which would be able to really like keep it soft,
keep it pliable, so it doesn't get too rigid and break.
So then I've been able to work with their organic chemists and then their design students, and you know, these students could be my children, you know, but they have the best idea. Like, they are so smart. I just wish I was like that at 25, you know. They come up with these amazing ideas, and they've helped me with my sort of growth mindset of like in lateral thinking of just, that's what we've got to do, is just think out of the box, literally. And so it's been amazing to work with these students, and I've like mentored them to like go to like national competitions with kombucha, making anything from like insulation out of kombucha to making diapers that are sustainable, you know, and in landfill, like completely decomposable, to, you know, design students, of course, you know, a natural thing is clothing, but actually there's so many applications for kombucha. And I think, you know, medically it's used as like as cornea grafts, and that it's just becoming more and more known.
Bandages. Well, and I think you're absolutely right. And I've always said, tip of the iceberg, you know, there is so much that our culture can do. And it's just, not only does it make this amazing, delicious beverage, but it also can become this plethora of resources and have this great utility. I imagine it's kind of like trying to figure out how to tan leather to a certain extent. That's always in my mind how I've imagined it. Like, we have to somehow, whether that's rub it with emollients, or, you know, I'm sure you're figuring out more technical ways in which to maintain that pliability. But
definitely,
it sounds like it'll be a really fun experiment for anyone who wants to play with their extra SCOBYs, to give it a try. Maybe try making some earrings. And then in terms of sewing it, do you find, does it rip easily, or how do you get the stitches to stay so that they don't slice through the SCOBY? Or is that not really an issue?
It's a really good thing. So just a little fun fact about leather, and I don't know how many people know this, but it is such a toxic process to actually get, you know, it from being an animal, and then not to mention the slaughtering that takes place, and, you know, but then the toxic chemicals that are used for leather is just, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, I kind of think of the way Native Americans did. I think what they use brains, they use just different parts of the animal in order to create that. Of course, once you go synthetic, then you're not necessarily using those, you know, every part of the animal when you're creating an industry. But you know, that's in my imagination sort of where I go. Like, have you guys tried brains or any of those kinds of things? Like,
and then I'm sorry, I kind of went on my little soapbox there. What was your second question? What was your?
I was just like, how about sewing? Like, do the threads pull through and rip the fabric, or how do you get those to stabilize?
So one of my tricks that I'm really happy to share is to actually sew it while it's a little bit wet. So even like before it's fully dried, because it's still kind of almost, it's got the texture almost of skin, literally. Like there's substance to it, like before it really dries out and can become, so it can become more brittle. But if you can sew it while it is wet, you get all of your stitching in place. And then what I do, my principle with the clothing is treat it as if I would treat my face, you know, treat it as well as I, you know, sort of, you know, self-care, body care. And so I have like beautiful, like oils and creams, that kind of thing. And even though, you know, I might be investing in those for myself. I'm like, well, if they're good enough for me, they're good enough for my clothing. And so then I actually, once it's all sewn, I kind of just give it like a massage with oil and you know, to just, you know, and it will lock in a little bit of it, just not a huge amount, kind of like,
right.
you know, but that's kind of my trick, is to actually sew it while it's wet.
And you can do that with a sewing machine as well as hand sewing? Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's so neat.
Yeah, and because there's not actually any stretch with the cellulose, one thing that I find is really good is try to find a design that is that has some kind of, that's what I did this knitting, because it actually has give then. So, you know, I did, you know, just basically cut it into like yarn and then sewed with it, which is really...
So just like long strips.
Yeah.
You just created long strips.
Yeah, or like with a sheet, what you can do is just like keep cutting it in a circle.
Keep going, right. So it's all one string.
Like in a circle or back and forth, back and forth. So from one sheet, then you make a yarn pretty easily. And I do that like while we're watching a movie or whatever. Like, I actually really enjoy it. It's very meditative, you know. And then I've got my yarn, and then I just can crochet with it or knit with it. And then you've got this give. Or the other kind of good trick is to use lacing. So you can like have two panels, and then, for example, on the sides, you could just use, you know, like not rivets, but gosh.
Rivet stitching makes sense, right? It's grommets,
yeah,
right?
grommets,
like,
yeah,
and then you would lace it, sort of like a corset, or you know, or like a paneled vest or something like that.
Yeah, or you can put a panel of like some recycled fabric. Like, I've never bought fabric to, you know, but I do use a lot. I go to the thrift store a lot, and I, you know, can sort of repurpose clothing where I'll take a panel of like a really nice like natural fabric that's got some stretch, and you know, just put a little strip of that in the sides, just so there's a little bit of give, and that really helps. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, we could go on and on about this, but I'm really excited for people to just give this a try at home. And I hope that you will tag us in your experiments. Show us what you're working on when you try this. But let's show them the SCOBY earrings, and then we'll talk about your kombucha. So
yeah, sure.
I've taken very good care of mine. I only wear them on very special occasions.
Yeah.
I'm a hoarder type. So for me, like, I don't want to ever have to throw these away, even though I know they will just decompose.
Yeah. So what hang on, I'm just gonna hold these. Are reversible, so they're actually from this angle. So they're green on one side. I don't know the best way of doing this here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, now we get some light behind them.
Yeah,
oh, they look like leaves.
Yeah, so I actually used like very fine skeleton. Oh, it's so hard to know what you can actually see here. So they're kind of three colors, because there's like, when they're backlit, they like, you can see the leaf through them. So I did a very fine like skeleton leaf sandwiched between two layers of kombucha. And then they are actually, let's see if I can do it like this. Here, I don't know if you can see that. They're green.
I see.
Yep. Can you see?
Oh, there we go. Now I can see it. Yes. Oh, wow. Those look so different compared to when the light's going through them. They're beautiful.
On the other side, they're brown. So I don't know if you can see that.
I love the sparkle. Mine have sparkle on them too. They're so fun.
So I use kind of recycled threads. I use, the other thing for when you're sewing, it somehow, the kombucha really responds, or just does really well with metallic thread, which I know is it's not sustainable, but like really no thread is very good for the planet. So it metal, because it's very fine, and it kind of likes to, I don't know, it's almost like it likes to grab onto it, and like it's more secure. So then I just keep every literally tiny little piece. My husband is so sweet. He'll be like, you pick up this tiny bit of thread. He's like, do you need this? And I'm like, thank you, babe, but no, you can actually throw that one out. He doesn't dare throw anything out. So I just keep it all, and then I put them in the earrings. So they kind of sparkle with the threads. Yeah.
They're really beautiful.
Yeah.
So a lucky winner is going to have a chance to win these earrings.
Yeah,
We'll be posting about that
yeah,
tomorrow.
And then there's the necklace also here. So I can't. Can you see the necklace?
Yeah, not quite. You need to angle the camera down a little. There we go. Now we've got it.
Yeah,
Ooh, that is so pretty.
And then that's actually also, hang on. It's actually double-sided as well. Hang on, where am I?
Nice.
You're seeing all my mess here.
Oh, that's okay. We all the creative types have a mess somewhere.
Yeah. I don't know. Can you see it now?
You need to angle it down a little more so that we can see the. There we go. Now we've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah. So you can wear it both sides, like natural sort of honey gold or sparkle. Yeah.
It's beautiful. Well, thanks so much for sharing. This is so unique, and I love your story, Sacha. It's so organic and just really goes with the flow of the kombucha.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, coming back full circle, you're now launching your own brand of kombucha.
Yeah.
Yes, called Together.
Yeah, so Together Kombucha is...
Angle it a little lower so we can see the logo.
Hang on.
The bottle's beautiful. Yeah, down. There we go. Yes, that is so pretty.
Yeah, so this is my Champbucha, and I actually just got the trademark for it, so I'm really excited.
Champbucha is like champagne, right?
Yeah, so I really...
Yes.
You know, as a home winemaker, and bubbles are my favorite thing, whether it's kombucha or champagne. But I really love to be able to, you know, drink my kombucha as if it was wine, because you know, I just try not to, you know, I just try to be really careful, and so I have you know, I've made that one kind of with an inspiration of champagne. So it's got a little bit of like guava in it, and all like just super high end teas that are like, it tastes like champagne, especially when it's aged for a couple of months. It tastes like champagne. So
I can't wait to try
some. It's going to be kind of my flagship. But I have 12 flavors, and people can check out togetherkombucha.com. And I have my 12 flavors there, and I would love people to sign up for my newsletter and keep in touch, because really I'm ready to go. I just need to find a location. And then I have a kombucha club that people can sign up for, and I'll be shipping it anywhere in California at this point to begin. And once I'm, you know, got my facility, because I just need to have a commercial facility in I don't know how it is in other states, but here in California, you need to be in a kind of a licensed facility. And so, yeah, I'm just waiting to find the perfect location. I'm not in a like huge rush for it, because I want it to be the perfect place. So I'm looking at like, there's a couple of places that I'm looking at that could really work well. So I'm very excited, and I'm hoping that in the next, you know, 6 months or so, I can like really, you know, launch. And so if people sign up for my newsletter, you'll be the first to hear about it. Yeah. That's
great. And so tell us a little bit more about the other ways people can follow you or learn about your work.
Yeah. So I have Kombucha Couture on Facebook. You know, I'm an oldie. I really apologize, but that's one of the reasons, you know, Instagram is kind of like not my forte, but Facebook has been my happy place for many years. And so I do very easily post on Facebook, but I am going to try to be better at Instagram. And then, so Together Kombucha on Facebook and Instagram. Kombucha Couture. I have the website. I have an Etsy store, so you can go, and those earrings actually are advertised on. I'm like, oh my God, I had so much fun making them. And I'm like, I want to be able to offer that to anyone. So they are for sale. Anyone who doesn't win the draw, then you can also purchase, and I will make up an identical sister. Yeah, so lovely. I have the Etsy store. You can just input together Kombucha Couture on Etsy. Yeah. Are you there?
Great. Well, yeah, well, we'll definitely let everybody know where they can find you with your handles and everything. But thanks so much for being here. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us before you go today?
I think that's good. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
I didn't see any come through except for one in Spanish about how we have less fizz in our bottle. So I'm going to answer that here in just a minute. But no, I think this was so lovely and so wonderful for people to learn more about what they can do with their extra SCOBYs. And I'm sure you've inspired a lot of folks to try and get creative. And we'll be linking to you and letting people know where they can find you as well. But thanks so much for being here, Sacha. I really loved having you. We've known each other many years, and it's always great when we have an opportunity to reconnect. And so thank you so much for being here. And we'll look forward to seeing you again sometime. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, había una pregunta sobre cómo podemos reducir el gas en la kombucha. And let me go back and look. And yes, I see your question. Oh, here's a question.
It's a quick brew.
Yes.
Acidic brew. So the kombucha, sorry, it's cutting out a little bit. Yeah.
It is. Okay.
Acidic brew. But I start off with the same recipe, basically a gallon of water and a cup of sugar. Same. So it's exactly the same, and 5 to 7 teaspoons of tea, exactly the same as I make my kombucha. But I leave it longer. Like my actual drinking kombucha is ready after about 7 days, and the fabric I leave for about 2 weeks. Because the more and more acidic it gets, the Acetobacter actually, that's its, the pH that it really loves is about 3.6, 3.5. And so it really starts spinning very well at that point. So I leave it twice as long as my beverage, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And then is there a specific temperature? Is that like 75, 80? Where are you at?
It actually, my fashion farm is outside, or else I would show it to you, but it's out in my garden. And it loves up to 100 degrees. It loves about 85 degrees, really. It grows the best then. But in my house, it's always about 70 degrees, and it grows well. And obviously that it can ferment very well at 70 degrees for drinking. But the actual clothing, if you can get it to like 85 is better. But I really do recommend just being really careful with temperature, heating belts, because they can overheat super easily, and then you kill your mama, and that's really not, that's a sad day.
That is a sad day. Yeah, well, we have heaters with the thermostat, so that way it makes sure you can't ever go too hot.
Excellent.
So that, yes, we tried to solve that problem.
That would help the growth a lot. If you can have a thermostat and make sure it cuts off at about 90 degrees, that's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Nettie's Farm had asked if the earrings were made from SCOBYs. Yes, they are made from SCOBYs, as is all of the clothing you see behind Sacha. So that's exactly what we've been talking about today. So any of you kombucha producers out there, if you have extra SCOBYs and are feeling creative, you might just turn those into something that you can sell as well. A unique creation. And there are so many fun things we can do with our SCOBYs, and jewelry and clothing is just one of them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
There were any other questions? I'm not seeing any here.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I missed the last bit. It went out for a bit, but
I know it's going in and out. Yeah. No worries. But yeah, that was the only question I saw about the fabric itself. And then, like I said, I think there's one in Spanish. Someone was looking for some help with their bubbles, their fizz. If I can actually get back there. Okay, here we go. ¿Cómo lo hago para que mi kombucha no produzca tanto gas? So I guess there's too many bubbles in their brew. Parece como es un problema de tus sabores.
Maybe take a little bit of the yeast out. I mean,
Right.
Mama needs a cleanup.
Right, so tal vez hay demasiado levaduras. En este caso, las levaduras son las partes marrones que están dependientes de la cultura aquí. Y a veces si hay demasiados en su botella, aquí como se puede ver es un poco más levadura porque no es tan claro, es más murky. Si hay demasiado levadura, se puede ser demasiado gas. Otro problema tal vez es hay demasiado sabor. Si hay demasiado azúcar, se puede crecer demasiado burbujas. Hay que medir, como hemos dicho antes, no necesitamos tanto para tener un sabor muy fuerte, sino un poco, a little bit goes a long way. Un poco de sabores se pueden hacer bastante burbujas, pero no tantos como tú tienes un geyser así.
Well, thank you
that was
so
the
much.
only other question. Yeah, thank you for being here, Sasha. It was so lovely to have you, and we're excited about your launch and your kombucha.
Please, people sign up for my newsletter on Together Kombucha, and that way we can stay in touch.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, the large pieces of SCOBY, she uses her cheese tubs. I think there we go. So Bucha I don't know if that's short for India or whatnot, but yeah, the large pieces are grown in cheese tubs. So I imagine those are fairly large. You could probably even get a child's swimming pool or just anything that's going to yield a larger surface area so that you can grow. I think I've seen different folks online using a variety of plastic tubs. They're fairly inexpensive, because we're not going to be consuming this as a food product. They don't even necessarily have to be food grade, but there's lots of different shapes you can probably grow your fabric in, so that way you have a known quantity you're working with once it comes time to harvest it. But how fascinating. Don't we love our kombucha culture? It's so cool. It's so flexible. It does so many amazing things. And it's really neat to see how the world is learning so much about kombucha and can take these different aspects of it. There was a student at MIT who won a $15,000 grant using kombucha organisms to grow nanosensors. We've seen all kinds of ways in which the bacterial cellulose that our product produces can actually be applied for so many different types of real-world applications. And again, tip of the iceberg. So we're super excited to see how our industry is going to continue to grow, not just from everybody drinking kombucha, but from figuring out all the uses we have for the SCOBY, which can oftentimes be a waste product. So it makes a great soil amendment, even if we, as Sacha indicated, just burying it by her tree has led to a flourishing in her garden. We know that it can also be used as feed for animals, and so there's just so many uses for our culture. It's just really exciting to be part of a culture that is zero waste and is completely sustainable. I have always known that kombucha is eco-friendly for so many reasons, and this is just one of the many other examples of how we can use the byproducts for other creative outlets and practical uses. So thanks everybody for being here today. Next, so tomorrow we're going to have the giveaway, so stay tuned for that. And then next week I'm doing an AMA en español. So vamos a hablar español el lunes que viene. Toda the live sería en español y responderé a sus preguntas. Con permiso, mi cabello hay que cambiar. I have to shift gears here para pensar más en español, pero el lunes que viene todo estaría en español como yo puedo hacerlo. So gracias. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here today. We'll be back on. Don't forget, 30-day Kombucha Challenge still going on. Join anytime. Really, anytime is the perfect time to start a 30-day Kombucha Challenge. So dive on in. The links are in the bio. And thanks again to everybody being here. We'll see you next time. Bye.